What is the craziest thing you've ever seen from a homeowner while performing maintenance?
I love living in the South. You get to talking about guns with some homeowners, and they're like, look what I got. They come toting in 2 or 3 at each time, new ones they got with tags on them. They're all like, look at this, and they show it off. But when we have one customer, he has a bunker behind a mirror wall. It's pretty neat.
Did anybody ever get shot or threatened to be shot?
Yes.
Did you really? Did you actually get shot?
No.
Did this threaten you?
He threatened.
All right. What does ECA stand for, and why do we call it that here at AirWorx?
The Energy Control Agreement.
Okay. And why do we call it Energy Control Agreement, Jamar?
It preserves the life of the unit, making the unit more efficient when we clean the unit. And as far as a dirty unit, may pull more electricity than it would clean because it has more load on the unit itself.
That's very good. Thank you very much. Do you believe, Russell, that performing a professional tune-up on a system actually saves the homeowner money? And if so, how?
Yes, I believe it saves them money, namely because the wear and tear that a system has on it from being dirty, it shortens the life of the equipment, so therefore they're going to spend more money in the long run having to replace the equipment and or repair the damage to the unit. And also it derates the efficiency of the unit, so they're going to use more electricity.
When you clean the blower motor, you take vibration out of the system. Vibration kills these units. They cause leaks in your evaporators, things like that. Your outdoor unit, if it gets dirty, it starts to overheat, causes wear and tear on the compressor, shortens life on the equipment because it overheats. Heat kills these units, vibration kills these units, and we're taking care of all of that in our maintenance agreements.
What are some of the unusual problems we sometimes encounter while doing maintenance?
The last one I was on, I actually found a big old dead rat up inside the unit. So you'll have animals, rats, you get ants up in the contactor, rats hit the contactor and it'll electrocute them, and it will cause problems with the electrical stuff on the outside. On the inside, Jeremy alluded to how the dirt on the blower wheel will actually cause vibrations, but if it gets extremely dirty, the weight of that dirt will bend those the actual blades on that fan blade will actually bend them, so therefore it'll actually cause that vibration, but also cause that motor to go out as well.
How does a homeowner benefit from having their system regularly maintained?
Well, with the regular maintenance on the unit, they're able to know when their system is running poorly or not, because when we go to clean it, we go through everything we need to, far as what could be wrong with the system, or if the system running as it should, if it's leaking Freon, or just any electrical part, amping out, pulling too many amps, it just shouldn't, or if it's just bad parts on the unit itself. We go through and we'll find anything that's wrong with the unit while we're doing the maintenance, if there is anything wrong with it.
Very good. Marcus, would you have an ECA performed on your own system at your own home, and why?
It's important to keep it clean, keep it operating in its most efficient. The hardest thing on the system is once the outdoor unit gets stopped up, like he was saying, it overheats, and the system works by transferring air. If the indoor coil isn't clean and the outdoor coil isn't clean, they're not working together efficiently to achieve the maximum performance of the system. And it's just like your automobile, you have to keep it tuned up. If you want it to be performing at its best, you got to take care of it.
How do we test, and before you answer, raise your hand so that I can choose somebody to give this answer. How do we test capacitors, and why do we test them?
We test capacitors with a microfarad tester on a meter, and we test them to make sure that the motors are going to start up the way they're supposed to. It could be a start capacitor, it could be a run capacitor, and when the capacitor starts to get weak, it starts putting wear and tear on the motors. They won't crank on like they're supposed to, and we can foresee a problem coming up before it gets to the point it will not start.
That way it's fixed on the maintenance, not in the middle of the night.
Say it again.
That's what it's fixed on the maintenance, not during the middle of the night on a Saturday whenever you have company over. Because it's always when something goes out is the most inopportune time.
If a homeowner does not do maintenance on a regular basis on their system, they're more likely to have a problem when the weather gets really hot or in the winter when it's really cold.
Yep. If it's been 100 degrees all day, the system's been running, and it's still 80 degrees at night, and the system's still running trying to cool the home down, it's going to eventually give out.
And so maintenance eliminates those problems, or
Yeah.
what?
Well, with the, like he's saying with the capacitors, once they start losing their capacitance, it's just they're not able to keep the motor on. If your outdoor fan motor goes out, your compressor's going to keep running, it's going to overheat, and then it's going to shut down. And then as a homeowner, you're going to go, well, it quit working. So then if this was called ahead of time, it wouldn't have went out in the middle of the night.
Russell, how do we measure and why do we measure freon pressures while we're performing maintenance for a customer?
We measure freon pressures using our gauges and figuring out and calculating superheat and subcooling, depending on if it's a fixed orifice or if it's a TXV. We're measuring it to figure out what the heat transfer is across the coils, and we're trying to determine whether the system is undercharged or overcharged. If the system is undercharged, it typically is pretty analogous to running your car low on oil. And then obviously it's not efficient and it's causing wear and tear. If the system's overcharged, the pressures are going to be high, exceeding what the unit's rated for, and also the unit's going to be slugging back liquid, and compressor's designed to pump strictly vapor. So when the liquid's going through there, it's tearing the compressor up
And shorten its life.
and shortening its life. But you have to, in order to adequately check the freon pressures and the superheat and subcooling, you have to have the adequate amount of airflow, and you've got to have clean coils on the system.
What do you think is the most important thing we do while performing maintenance on a customer system?
The most important thing we do when performing maintenance on a system, I believe, is cleaning the coils inside and outside. Mainly because it's breathing. It's kind of like your lungs.
Yeah.
You can't really breathe well if your lungs aren't performing well. That's the same with that coil inside and the coil outside. Mainly the coil outside, because the air has to come over the coil. If it is clogged up, therefore it is actually the compressor, and everything will be pulling harder, working harder, trying to get that air. And if it is clogged up, it is going to wear and tear on that compressor.
How and why do we clean the condenser coil on a customer system?
Well, first we remove all the debris out of the inside, so any coil cleaner that gets put in the system doesn't maintain down the bottom of the pan, because if it stays in there too long, it could cause damage to the system. We clean it because the coil in the outdoor unit acts just like a radiator of a car. It relieves the heat on the system. And just like a car, if your car overheats, you cause damage to your system, same as the outdoor condenser coil. If it's not breathing the way it's supposed to, everything starts overheating, your pressures start going up, causes wear and tear on the system.
Very good. All right, what percentage of systems that y'all run across that have not had a maintenance agreement on that system? In other words, they haven't had periodic maintenance performed. What percentage of those systems have dirty coils?
Yeah, it's
Probably 70-80%.
at least.
Yeah, really high percentage. I agree with that. Marcus, you were going to say something?
Yeah, and two, it's most of the time it's customers don't know to change the filters every 30 days. They buy these filters that say they last 3 months, and it is indicative to the environment. They may last 3 months in some homes, they may not last 3 months in other homes, and they leave them in there thinking that they're doing good for themselves, and they're really hurting themselves by restricting their airflow.
Do we worry about, are we concerned with how a system looks in terms of the indoor and outdoor unit whenever we get finished performing the maintenance and cleaning up the system and checking everything out? Are we concerned about how that system looks at all?
Yes. Yes.
So explain that.
Because when somebody's paying you, an annual rate to come out and clean their system twice a year, yeah, if you clean the system in the inside, check all your parts like you should, they also want to see when you're done cleaning the unit that it actually look good. Not only does it works right, but it looks good. And that goes from when you're cleaning the outside, that could be a little I guess, corrosion from water hitting the system. It makes little black dots or whatever. You take that and rub it off. I mean, it's amazing how much more cleaner it makes the system look, rather than, the coils are clean, but the actual housing of the unit is clean itself too. So when people see that, it's like, okay, well, they check my system out, they say it's running good, but it looks good too, so I'm happy.
On that note, guys, we are going to conclude this session. I think that was excellent.
Way to go, Jamar. Appreciate it.